Chapter 16. The 500-meter road outside the gymnasium took 7 or 8 minutes to drive. Passing through the intersection, the traffic flow dispersed, and the main road suddenly became smooth. When Shi Yan is driving, he is used to leaning back on the back seat relaxedly, with slender fingers with well-proportioned knuckles. He never holds the steering wheel too hard, but he feels full of control. Specifically, the current speed is actually very fast. Shuyi tightened his seat belt, sat upright, stared at the scene in front of him intently, not daring to turn his head. When the red light came on at the next intersection, Shi Yan stepped on the brakes and turned around slowly. Although he didn't speak and Shuyi didn't look at him, he could guess what his eyes were expressing at this moment. Shuyi looked straight ahead, blinked calmly, and said, "I'll think about it again." Shi Yan propped his elbows on the steering wheel and looked at her with a half-smile. "Isn't it finished yet?" "Shuyi, don't worry, there are still 90 minutes to answer the exam." Shi Yan stopped talking and turned his attention back to the road conditions. Seeing the car running wildly, Shuyi suddenly thought of a question. Where is this going? She took a peek at Shi Yan, seeing that he seemed too lazy to talk to her, so she didn't ask any more questions, and silently closed her mouth. In a quiet environment, Shuyi slowly bent down, stretched out his hands and rubbed his ankles, and took a deep breath. "It hurts, it really hurts. Don't make noise." Oh. There was silence all the way. The car slowly left the downtown area, drove onto the viaduct, and crossed the river, surrounded by flat green belts with few buildings. Therefore, Shuyi clearly saw the big characters Jiangqing United Family Medical on the neon lights in the distance. She blinked and turned to look at Shi Yan. Shi Yan didn't seem to feel her gaze, slowed down the car, and drove smoothly into the parking lot. After parking the car, Shi Yan unfastened his seatbelt, opened the door and got out of the car, and went around to the co-pilot. He opened the car door, put his arms half on it, and bowed to Shuyi. "Get off." The conjecture in his heart was proved, and Shi Yan still had a bit of conscience. Shuyi wanted to laugh, but he still wanted to maintain a painful look, so he tried his best to hold back. She only stretched out one leg to land on the ground, stretched out her upper body, but didn't get out of the car. "My feet hurt and I can't stand up." Shi Yan looked down at her. As long as he doesn't speak, in Shuyi's eyes, it's not considered a rejection. The air at night is humid and cold, and the green plants have just been watered, and large areas are soaked in water vapor, which feels like a sudden rest. "I can't walk either." Shuyi's trembling voice made people feel that the day was getting colder. Seeing that Shi Yan was still unmoved, Shuyi said again, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have sprained my ankle." After finishing speaking, she cautiously opened her arms towards Shi Yan. "Means, carry me on your back." I don't know if he can get her meaning. Shi Yan seemed a little impatient. "Shuyi, do less work." Shuyi's brows furrowed, and she was about to cry. "Who did it?" She looked at Shi Yan sadly. "Is your heart made of stone?" Shi Yan, "No." Shuyi pursed her lips. "Then you." Shi Yan, "I have no heart, you said so." Shuyi, "Why do you hold grudges so much? Try wearing high heels and spraining your feet. It's like being broken by a human being. It hurts to death, okay. Oh, and you haven't worn high heels, you can't." Shi Yan didn't want to listen to her rambling anymore, so he suddenly opened the car door completely, then bent down, and hugged Shuyi out of the car. Suddenly flying into the air, Shuyi's mind went blank, and subconsciously reached out to put his arm around Shi Yan's shoulder. It wasn't until Shi Yan hugged her and turned and walked towards the hospital that she slowly recovered. She just wanted Shi Yan to carry her on her back. At this moment, she was leaning in his arms, could smell the light fragrance on his clothes, could feel his body temperature. As long as she raised her head, her face could rub against his chin, so intimate that it couldn't be more intimate. Shuyi wrapped his arms around his shoulders, but quietly curled his arms. After slowly feeling his breath close at hand, Shuyi slowly buried her face in his chest. Then, snicker. The hospital was brightly lit. Since it is a private hospital, there are not many patients, and almost all the people walking in the public area are medical staff. With a woman in his arms, Shi Yan walked in with big strides, but his footsteps were unhurried, which invisibly attracted the attention of many people. Sensing that someone was watching her, Shuyi quietly raised her eyes, and saw 2 front desk nurses leaning on the information desk, looking at them with their probes and smiling. "Oh, so handsome, my God. I also want to be hugged by the princess. My boyfriend just lifts me up. I immediately soul wear that girl." Although Shuyi couldn't hear what they were talking about, but as a woman, she could vaguely guess it. She raised her head and looked at Shi Yan's side face, the smile in her eyes couldn't be hidden. Has your ex-girlfriend ever said that you look handsome from this angle? Shi Yan had no reaction to her rainbow fart. When he approached the emergency room, he stopped in front of the door and looked down at Shuyi. As soon as he lowered his head, the two looked at each other, breathing intertwined. Shuyi inexplicably felt that his breathing rhythm seemed to become disordered, and his palms began to heat up. Shi Yan twitched the corners of his mouth, his face was expressionless, and his tone was extremely cold. Did your ex-boyfriend ever tell you that you are heavy? The tone of Shuyi's words was a little delicate and a little shy. Shi Yan seemed to be imitating her, but when he said it, there was no emotion other than sarcasm. Shuyi's breathing was completely messed up. Can't adjust back. No. But I think you have the potential to be my first ex-boyfriend to say that. Shuyi silently answered this sentence in his heart. Hey, it hurts, it hurts. Shuyi sat on the bed, and every time the doctor moved her ankle, she screamed. I'm not serious. The doctor on duty was a middle-aged woman. Seeing Shuyi like this, she couldn't bear to ask, does it hurt so much? Shuyi glanced at Shi Yan. I'm just afraid of pain. Shi Yan stood beside him, still not responding to Shuyi's words. Suddenly, his cell phone rang. He took it out to look at the incoming call, and then left the diagnosis room. Afterwards, the doctor checked again, and Shuyi didn't scream. It turned out to be coquettish. The doctor said with a smile, your condition is actually not serious, so I just said where is the pain. Shuyi's head was depressed and he didn't speak. The doctor sat back at his desk, typing, and said, ice compresses within 48 hours after returning home, and then heat compresses. If it really hurts, use some medicine to promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. Do not massage, and try not to walk around. Wear comfortable shoes, remember. Shuyi nodded. Actually, it doesn't hurt anymore. The doctor typed out the list, and after handing it to her, he muttered, I think, although your boyfriend is handsome, he is too cold and hard-hearted. Shuyi snorted. Sister doctor, don't talk nonsense, he is not hard-hearted. Little girl, you are quite defensive. Outside the door, the corridor was silent. Shi Yan hung up the phone and just opened the door when Shuyi's emotional voice came from inside. He has no heart at all. Shi Yan withdrew his hand, turned and left. Shuyi sat on the bed, dangling her legs. Where did he go? Why hasn't he come back yet? She looked towards the door, could it be gone? The doctor said, pay the bill. As soon as the voice fell, the door was pushed open. Shuyi started performing almost reflexively. She frowned, glanced at her mouth, and was about to moan, but found that it wasn't Shi Yan who came in. A nurse came in pushing a wheelchair. Shuyi. Under the cool night, the street lamps seemed to line up. Shi Yan stood beside the car, and the light stretched his shadow very long. When Shuyi was pushed to the parking lot by the nurse, seeing this scene, her drooping head slowly lifted. From the beginning of the concert, tossing until now, it does not hurt the body or the mind. The makeup was a little off, and the lipstick was faded. Under the cold white light, she looked really sick. When the wheelchair was in front of Shi Yan, the nurse stopped after a few instructions. Shuyi looked at Shi Yan, and reached out to him again. I still can't move. The wind in the middle of the night blew wantonly in the empty parking lot, raising Shuyi's long hair. Although it was a bit messy, it made people feel pity. Shi Yan looked down, with some helplessness in his eyes. He took a deep look at Shuyi, and was about to bow. Suddenly, a wild cat jumped out of the grass at an extremely fast speed. The shadow was magnified and elongated several times by the street lights, and it rushed towards this side like a vicious monster. Accompanied by the shrill cry of the wildcat, Shuyi didn't have time to think, and his body reacted subconsciously, jumping up with lightning speed, screaming and hiding behind Shi Yan in 2 or 3 steps, trembling. After a few seconds, the wildcat jumped away, but the scene was quiet. The nurse coughed, pushed the wheelchair and left silently, leaving a place of embarrassment. Shi Yan took a look at Shuyi, and gradually shifted his gaze to her lap. Although he didn't say anything, Shuyi felt that he had encountered Waterloo in his acting career. It was past midnight when we returned to the city again. It was the first time that Shuyi took the initiative to keep quiet in front of Shi Yan, without saying a word. A bell rang to break the silence in the car. Shuyi silently turned her head away and looked out the window. She never liked listening to other people talking on the phone. Shi Yan didn't answer the phone until the traffic light. But it was connected directly on the center console, and a male voice came out from the speaker. Shi Yan, I remember you knew Belen. Shuyi's eyebrows twitched suddenly. Belen, a popular first-line actress, is young and beautiful. Hearing her name in this place, Shuyi suddenly felt uncomfortable. Shi Yan let out a Oh, that's right. A friend of mine wants to ask her to make a movie, but they can't agree on the salary. I want to see if you can mediate with me. Shuyi looked at Shi Yan furtively. Unexpectedly, Shi Yan happened to look back at her too. When their eyes met, Shuyi's heart suddenly missed a beat, and he began to chuckle. When Shi Yan looked at her at this time, he probably knew that she cared about his relationship with other women. Is she? I think her acting skills are average. Shi Yan withdrew his gaze and said calmly, it's not as good as my acting skills in the car. Shuyi, I thank you. The other end of the phone seemed to understand something. Well, it's late, so I won't disturb you for now. Shuyi sat by the bed for a long time. Today's scenes played back in her mind like movie scenes. Going to the concert with full expectations, but waiting for Qin Shiriwa to come. He wanted to touch porcelain, but he really sprained his ankle. He wanted to sell miserably, but was punctured. She sighed, buried herself in the pillow, sighed for a while, beat the quilt for a while, and after tossing for a long time, she sat up suddenly and blew her messy bangs. In Shuyi's dictionary, there can be no such words as giving up halfway. She found the phone from the messy quilt, thought for a moment, and sent a text message to Shi Yan. I almost forgot, today's medical expenses haven't been paid to you yet. How to give it? In fact, after sending the text message, Shuyi didn't expect to return from the banquet, so he put down his phone and went to take a shower. After working for more than an hour, she looked at her phone again. 10 minutes ago, Shi Yan replied. Look at WeChat. Shuyi read these words again in disbelief. Opened WeChat, and a new friend request popped up. But Shuyi's first reaction was to ask him first. Excuse me, is it a time banquet? Banquet, otherwise. At this time, a sense of joy swept over Shuyi belatedly. She lay on the bed and kicked her legs, danced and danced, then turned over and lay on the pillow, typing slowly. How much is the medical bill today? I pass it on to you. Shi Yan sent a bill over. Shuyi looked at it, and the smile froze at the corner of his mouth. Outpatient emergency, non-reservation system, 2,560 yuan. Why is the hospital so expensive? Shuyi, can I apply for medical insurance? The moment she sent it out, she suddenly regretted it, immediately withdrew it, and then transferred the money over. Lying on his back, Shuyi felt his flesh ache. A few seconds later, the phone rang. She picked it up again to look at it, and Shi Yan returned the money. The heartache suddenly disappeared and turned into a burst of secret happiness. Then what a shame, after all Before she finished typing, she saw another message from Shi Yan. As today's salary. It took Shuyi several seconds to realize what he meant. Her smile froze slowly again, and suddenly she didn't really want to struggle. Shuyi, my Oscar-level salary is only over 2,000. Shuyi murmured while typing. It's really hard to find people who can't find it. Shi Yan, how much more do you want? Shuyi tapped Erlang's leg and replied slowly. I want you to have dinner with me tomorrow, ///////. Chapter 17. Half an hour ago, Shi Yan had just entered the Western Chamber banquet. In the large box of 40 square meters, there were only 5 people sitting. Song Lilan, Qin Xiaoming, Qin Shiriwa, and Song Lilan's manager and assistant. Seeing that the time banquet is coming, Song Lilan didn't put down her chopsticks. While cooking the small hot pot, she asked, you didn't come until this is over. Concerts have always been physically exhausting, and Song Lilan is not too young, so every time after the concert, he will arrange a table of delicious food to feast on. No matter how late it is, you have to eat this meal to draw a successful conclusion to the concert. Occasionally, when Shi Yan and Qin Xiaoming are free, they accompany her as a celebration. Song Lilan was originally called Shi Man. She broke with her family when she debuted back then, so she took a stage name to express her determination to never be involved with her original family. Then she married and had children in secret, and the relationship with her family eased, but she had no intention of exposing them to the public again, and this kind of secret life passed like this. But now that technology is advanced and eyes are everywhere, Song Lilan is careful and has a busy schedule, so the days when she can sit and eat together like this are rare. Shi Yan pulled away the chair and sat down, but he didn't intend to move his chopsticks. Something happened. Not everyone in the family is Qin Shuyi. It's normal to encounter something that needs to be dealt with suddenly. Song Lilan didn't ask much. On the contrary, Qin Shuyi was very excited today, and he never stopped talking. That is to say, seeing her grandfather Shi Wenguang is not there, the excitement of watching the concert has continued to this day, and Shi Yan feels irritable when listening to it. He put down his phone and looked at Qin Shuyi. The mirrors were polished, and the eyes were captivating. Although there was no need to frown, Qin Shuyi didn't dare to speak any more for the next half hour, until Song Lilan finished eating and was ready to leave. Qin Xiaoming took a step behind and walked side by side with Shi Yan. I want you to have dinner with me tomorrow, /////////. When Shi Yan saw the news, Qin Xiaoming said at the same time, isn't it Qingshu's family banquet tomorrow night? Bring Xiaoya. Shi Yan glanced at Qin Shuyu's bouncing back, and said coldly, no need. After a moment's pause, he said again, there is no place for her. I'll pick you up at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. 10 minutes later, upon receiving this news, Shuyi, who was already lying on the bed, pulled up the quilt, covered her face, and smiled lowly in the darkness. The moon is bright and the wind is gentle tonight. Shuyi sleeps soundly. But the next day, she still got up early. After dealing with some work emails, Shuyi closed the computer and strutted to the wardrobe. It was December, and the cold air was strong, but Shuyi seldom wore down jackets, and only wore coats and skirts in winter. Therefore, there are rich and neat winter skirts in the cabinet. She picked out a few and tried them one by one, but she still couldn't pay attention. After struggling for a while, Shuyi had an idea and simply took pictures of these clothes and sent them to Shi Yan. Which one should I wear? After typing this line, Shuyi felt that something was wrong, so he deleted it and reposted it. Shuyi, which one do I look good on? Time banquet, red. Huh. Shuyi glanced at the clothes he took out. They were almost all plain colors, not red. She opened the cabinet in a strange way, and counted each item, but there was no red one. In the past 3 years after graduation, Shuyi's clothes have gradually changed, and now there are no traces of her student days. Due to work reasons, she always only wears dignified and plain clothes, and the strong color of red has never been in her consideration. So why did Shi Yan say red? Is he being perfunctory, or is he simply colorblind? Shuyi sat by the bed for a while, idly turned on the TV, and the picture happened to be a European heroine riding a horse across the grass. Rewinding the memory, Shuyi suddenly remembered that the last time she wore red was probably the day when she changed into red equestrian clothes at Guangshangqing's racecourse. There are more people in shopping malls on weekends. With Christmas approaching, red and green decorations are hung everywhere, and a giant Christmas tree is placed at the entrance. At first glance, the whole field of vision is filled with colors, which can greatly stimulate the desire to buy. No, Shuyi had only come in for an hour, and she already had bags from 3 stores in her hand. But so far she hasn't chosen the red dress she likes, so she carries the dress to a new floor and enters a newly opened store. The store has a variety of styles and colors, and there are several red skirts. Due to the professional habits developed in the past 2 years, Shuyi chose a red one-shoulder skirt with the simplest design to enter the fitting room. Just when she changed into her skirt and was about to go out, she suddenly heard a familiar voice. What do you think of this dress? Well enough. The man's answer was a little perfunctory, but Shuyi was very familiar with this voice. She glanced through the gap in the curtain of the fitting room, and it was indeed Yu Xingzhou and Qin Leji who came. Shuyi's good mood disappeared instantly. She didn't want to see these 2 people at this time, and she didn't want to leave directly. After all, there were still a lot of clothes in this store that she hadn't tried, so she just sat in the fitting room and wanted to wait for them to leave before going out. At this time, Qin Shuyi suddenly sent a message to Shuyi. Sister Shuyi, what are you doing this weekend? I'm so bored. Shuyi let out a sigh of relief and secretly typed. Don't mention it, I went out to buy some clothes, but I met a dog and a woman. Qin Shuyi, really or not? Where are you? Shuyi, Guojin. Qin Shuyi, I'm nearby. I'll be right there. Shuyi, Qin Shuyi, I'll support you. After a while, there was a noise from the fitting room next to it, and then Qin Leji's voice sounded outside again. This skirt is too plain, like a middle-aged person. No, these pants look thick. I don't want a turtleneck, it'll catch my foundation. Shuyi roughly estimated that Qin Leji had changed at least 3 sets of clothes, but he was not satisfied with any of them. A clerk outside said, "Miss, why don't you try a dress we just arrived? It's a very unique style." Qin Leji nodded, "Then you can get it from me." She looked back and saw that Yu Xingzhou was already sitting on the sofa playing with his mobile phone. Shuyi was in the fitting room, already getting irritable. A few minutes later, Qin Leji's voice came out again. "Is the style of this skirt too simple? There is no design." "No, the ones with simple tailoring are the most elegant." The 2 shop assistants gathered around Qin Leji and exclaimed, "The red color makes you look good, and it will be the best to wear for New Year's greetings after a while. It fits." Although the clerk Rainbow never stopped farting, Qin Leji still felt dissatisfied. She always felt that her shoulders looked weird. It seemed that the curvature of her shoulders and neck was not good. Effect. "Xingzhou, what do you think?" Qin Leji turned around and asked. Yu Xingzhou looked up. "Well, yes, it looks good." Qin Leji had clearly felt Yu Xingzhou's perfunctory, and felt uncomfortable, so he said, "I'll look at the others." Shuyi's patience in the fitting room finally reached its limit. Although she is also a woman, she has never seen such ink stains when buying clothes, and immediately regretted why she didn't go out directly. But now, Shuyi couldn't take it anymore. She stood up, straightened her skirt, opened the door curtain and walked out. At this time, the clerk was bending over to tie Qin Leji's belt. Qin Leji didn't pay attention to other things, he really watched the clerk's movements. Reluctantly, she felt a subtle change in the atmosphere around her. Not far from her, 2 shop assistants surrounded Shuyi, and 2 shop assistants simply stood there looking at Shuyi, their eyes full of surprise. "Miss, this dress really suits you. Your skin is so white and glowing, and the red color is tailor-made for your skin tone. I think you look better in this than the models in our magazines. You are right today. This size is the only one. Really, I'm not willing to try anything else, but this one, it's so pretty." Although it's just a back view, Qin Le can tell at a glance that the skirt Shuyi is wearing now is the same style as the one she is wearing. The clerk's rainbow farts were all the same and Qin Leji didn't care, but when Shuyi turned around, Qin Leji could see clearly that the same skirt, which didn't fit her, was the icing on the cake for Shuyi. The shoulders and neck are like swans, and the shoulder straps outline the curvature of the collarbone, flowing down smoothly, and the waistline is well proportioned, making an ordinary winter dress look like a small dress. Shuyi twirled around the skirt. "It's not bad, I'll take a photo." At this time, Shi Yan is conducting a video conference across time. The office is very quiet, only the voice of the other party reporting work. The phone suddenly vibrated a few times in succession. He swiped the screen, opened WeChat, and several photos popped up one after another. "Shuyi, does it look good?" "Shuyi, give me a 2-word answer." In the camera, when all the subordinates saw Shi Yan take off his glasses and rubbed his brow bones, they panicked and stopped immediately. "Mr. Shi, is there a problem?" After Shi Yan put on his glasses again, the look of helplessness disappeared. "You guys continue." 2 minutes later, Shuyi received a reply letter. "Can see Shuyi. It's really a 2-word answer and I don't want to give one more word. Shuyi, can a beautiful sentence kill you?" At the same time, the 2 women who had been shopping in this store for a long time saw Shuyi, their eyes lingering, and they waved to the clerk. "We want to try her style too. Get us too." The clerk at the cashier took a look, shook his head with a smile, and said, "Sorry, there are only 2 pieces of this one is on that lady, and the other." The clerk turned around, saw Qin Leji, and said, "This lady is trying on it. Look, this dress is really beautiful. The customers who tried it all like it." The clerk is professional, and his expression is well managed, but Qin Leji still saw the subtle changes in her eyes. The 2 women who wanted to try on the clothes followed the clerk to look at them. Their eyes were not hidden, and it was clearly written, "I don't think it's the same dress." Qin Leji's self-control could no longer suppress the change in his face. He didn't know where to put his hands, so he simply took off the belt he had just tied. Ugly, she subconsciously wanted to say that the clothes were ugly, but before she could finish, she saw Yu Xingzhou sitting up straight on the sofa, staring straight at Shuyi, following her footsteps. Qin Leji has never seen such a look on Yu Xingzhou's face. beyond stunning. Although he tried his best to restrain himself, he still showed unwillingness and regret. Qin Leji frowned tightly, with warm palms, and turned to the other side. Going around a row of hangers, Qin Leji just reached out to grab a skirt, when he reached out with the other hand. She looked up, looked at Shuyi, and saw her smile sarcastically. You really have the same taste as me. The two looked at each other, and each took the same dress to the fitting room. The two tried on 5 sets of clothes in a row, as if they were silently competing. Every time it comes out, the previous scene reappears. Qin Leji held back his strength and refused to admit defeat at all. He put the clothes on the counter one by one, but every time, she could clearly see the eyes of the people around her, no different from just now. After trying the 6th piece, Qin Leji stood in the fitting room, listening to the movement next door, recalling the scene just now. His blood surged up, and he couldn't calm down. She grabbed the last piece of clothing and walked out of the fitting room at the same time as Shuyi. After sweeping Shuyi's eyes lightly, she smiled and took Yu Xingzhou's arm. Honey, I like all these, why don't you buy them all for me? Shuyi considers himself a rather sweet person, but when he heard Qin Leji's tone, he still had goosebumps all over his body. When Qin Leji saw Shuyi frowning, the depression in his heart finally eased. It's just that she didn't notice that Yu Xingzhou's expression suddenly changed. The price of this store is not cheap. There is no winter clothes below 3,000 yuan, and it is not a discount season. If you buy all these pieces, it will cost tens of thousands of yuan at least. He was silent and didn't move immediately. Qin Leji shook his arm. Hurry up, we're going to eat later. But face was left here. As a man, it was impossible for Yu Xingzhou to refuse his girlfriend's request in public, so he had to walk slowly towards the counter. The clerk was overjoyed and looked at Shuyi at the same time. Miss, do you want these clothes? They are all suitable for you. Hearing this, Qin Leji also looked at Shuyi. The pride in his eyes was undisguised. A sudden sound of high-heeled shoes came. Qin Shuyi was holding a shining rare leather bag in his hand, and wearing sunglasses on his hair, and walked straight towards Shuyi. Sister, have you chosen yet? Shuyi didn't expect that she would really go to the front line to eat melons, and was so shocked by her power that she couldn't speak. Qin Shuyi glanced into the store. Only Qin Leji and Yu Xingzhou were in pairs, and after exchanging glances with Shuyi, she understood everything. Don't worry, I'll help you choose. She walked towards Qin Leji, glanced at the clothes she had chosen, and said to the clerk, this one, this one, this one. Oh, just these few clothes she chose. When the shop assistants heard this, they were overjoyed and hurried forward. Another rich one. Do you want all of them? Right. Qin Shuyi took out a card from her bag and patted it on the counter. Except for these few pieces, all other styles are wrapped according to my sister's size. Shuyi. Qin Shuyi helped her sunglasses, and when she passed by Qin Leji, she said with a smile, this elder sister has a good eye, and she helped me pick out the ugliest ones, saving me any more effort. Qin Leji froze in place, his face darkening at a speed visible to the naked eye. There was no sound in the store, and the strong smell of gunpowder attracted other customers to look over. The clerks didn't know how to react for a while, wandering between ecstasy and pinching themselves awake. Only Shuyi, still a little dazed, looked at Qin Shuyi and blinked. Qin Shuyi walked to her side and said in a low voice, it's okay, I'll swipe my uncle's card, he has money.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to our channel for more captivating illustrated romance audiobooks. Don't miss out on our latest releases and be part of our growing community. Hit that subscribe button and embark on an enchanting journey with us.